debate.
By the way, I think DeSantis is about to torpedo his campaign debating Gavin Newsom on November 30th.
Yeah, let's talk about it real quick. So DeSantis obviously realizes that his poll numbers were sinking.
Yeah, that was one of the. I mean, you talked about wanting to discuss the Bill Maher interview.
Yeah,
we kind of talk about those two things together, if you will, because I think the Gavin Newsom debate came up in the Bill Maher interview.
Well, right. Let's go first to the Newsom thing, because I see all the upside of Gavin Newsom, all the upside, because he's already, by many people believe that he's already trying to become a shadow presidential candidate, if not in 24, definitely in 28.
I think, by 2028, he's going to be just another old white guy. And while he did some good stuff, I think we really need to move away from old white guys.
Is he that old though?
I mean, he's in his what, 50s now?
Let me see now. Looks young.
No, I mean, he is like a vibrant and healthy dude. I'm not trying to impugn that or like hang a Joe Biden, Dianne Feinstein.
Yeah, he's mid 50s right now.
Yeah. So okay. So what? That's another 5 years. That's early 60s. So
he used to bang Kimberly Guilfoyle.
Yeah, I think
they're actually married.
I think they were married. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wonder how that was. Interesting. Anyway, but I think that debate idea, I actually like the idea of that. I think
not for DeSantis.
No, right. But I think as a U.S. citizen, who you and I are in the same boat. We want policy. We talk about policy.
I think yeah, in a vacuum, the idea of two up and come people whose national profile is growing or is known but not widely spoken to, people just kind of know what they hear. I think having a conversation, a debate like that, a town hall like that is actually really interesting. Now, for DeSantis's people, if they haven't done their homework, Gavin Newsom, I believe, is going to mop the floor with him unless he just runs around and just keeps changing the subject, because he's not charismatic. He's not a great public speaker. He doesn't do well on television. He's super awkward just by nature. Gavin Newsom's probably like 4 or 5 inches taller than him.
Yeah,
I think it's honestly it's to me, it has all the makings of the sort of moment that gets remembered and written about in the same way that like the Kennedy-Nixon one did.
Yeah. Nixon with the sweat and all that stuff. Yeah. And Kennedy's because he had
the flu. Yeah. And I mean, if you really dig into that debate, like Nixon didn't make bad points. He actually made, really solid arguments in a number of ways. But what everybody remembers is that he looked like shit on TV, and Kennedy looked like, he was going to go boxing and play golf after the debate. But no, I think when you look at the numbers, one of the things that people like Ron DeSantis love to do is point to homelessness and poverty and crime. It's like the crime, yes, the number of crimes in California far surpass the number of crimes in Florida, because there's 17 million more people in California than Florida. But when you start getting into like the actual rates, things are pretty negligible. The median home price in Florida is half that of California. That's true. But, for example, homelessness is on the decline in Florida in the last few years. It's down like 46%. But what was discovered by The Guardian in like 2017 is that's because they just bus their homeless people to another state, or their unhoused people to another state.
So it's a misnomer. It's actually this.
Yeah, they're not doing it. They're not doing anything to solve homelessness. It's not like they're building transitional housing that's not carceral. It's not like they're meaningfully combating poverty and food security and access to mental health and medical health. They're not doing any of those things in Florida. So how, if you're not addressing any of the underlying causes of homelessness, how could you possibly be solving homelessness? But if you're shipping them to Georgia or shipping them to Arkansas or anywhere else that's not Florida,
So it says something though.
And California is a frequent recipient of those unhoused people from neighboring states.
True. It does say something to me anyway, that Gavin Newsom is willing to do this debate, even knowing that it will be on to be honest with you, DeSantis is home turf in a sense. It'd be on Fox News.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get
Fox crowd.
He's going to get booed, and DeSantis
is going
to get cheap applause.
But to my point, he doesn't care.
I mean, the facts are on his side. He's done some things that I don't agree with. I don't like that he didn't sign the bill to give union workers unemployment coverage while striking. I thought that was a smack in the face to labor. He vetoed a bill about considering gender affirmation in family court with regard to custody battles. I don't agree with that. But as a whole, like if you want to look at his total scorecard, he's signed a lot of legislation into law that I agree with. And so the measures they both don't really have a leg to stand on with regard to addressing the underlying causes of homelessness. Gavin Newsom's done a bit more, really addressing like poverty and whatnot. But as a whole, Gavin Newsom doesn't run around saying horrible things about migrants and enacting terrible policies that go against, say, medical direction. I think he's really going to get hammered on his record relative to trans rights, gay rights.
DeSantis.
Yeah, but
one could argue that's why he's down in the polls. One could argue that's why in general elections down in the polls right now. I think primary.
I think the moderates that you and I always talk about, the independent voters that tend to really kind of play it down the middle, call it center right, because America's national discourse is really kind of more right leaning than other.
You think so?
Other comparable, dude. I mean, just look at any EU country and how their parliaments are set up, even British Parliament. Like, you have.
You mean the actual the
overall like where America's left and right fall nationally on like sort of on the overall political spectrum. It's like, yeah, we're kind of a right leaning.
The country, I think the citizens are probably center left, and the setup of the government is definitely center right.
That's what I mean.
To your point, right? Okay, okay,
yeah.
Let's clear it up.
Yeah.
No, but for DeSantis now, initially when I heard this debate was going to happen in November, I'm thinking, well, there's no upside for DeSantis to do this. Why would he do this now? This actually took his campaign more. But then I thought about it too. Also,
I think it's going to give, frankly, a bunch of upward momentum to Nikki Haley because it's going to further. He's going to say a bunch of wild shit to get applause lines in Georgia while Gavin Newsom is beating him up. And it's going to make Nikki Haley look more and more as the rational. Like, I think she's going to consistently perform well in the primaries.
She's a good debater.
And by the time we get to, I mean, I don't like most of the policies,
of course.
But when you look at the landscape of what the GOP field is,
she's enormous of the crazy.
She's the least crazy I see.
Yeah, because for example, the thing on abortion, she may have her personal views on abortion, but she recognizes that.
Yeah,
6 weeks to
don't get it.
No, right.
Anyone that's campaigning for that nomination is going to fall in line with the Federalist Society the minute they get the nod. Like that's
if they get the votes, they get the numbers, they would.
So I don't. Yeah, she can say whatever she wants about abortion access, but reproductive health care, but like I don't believe a word she says because, like I said, if she were to get the nomination. She's gonna fall right in line with
because she actually doesn't believe it. Ultimately, in her mind, she
just wants to. She like most politicians just wants power,
and that's why I can't stand Mike Pence. But at least he owns that. He owns that field. I don't believe him. I mean, from conception.
Yeah,
I agree with him on that.
He's really
but at
scary.
But at least he owns that. At least this is who I am. I hate it. I hate it too. Get me wrong.
At least he's honest about his crazy.
Right. I mean, exactly.
Well, I can't stand Mike Pence.
Would you rather lie to you about it?
I would rather him not be a figure in national politics.
I agree. He's a scary dude. He's more right leaning than probably anybody on that stage.
Yeah, at least especially when you start getting into like the Christo-fascist stuff.
Yes, yeah, right. No, back to the DeSantis quick though. If he were to actually do well in this debate with Newsom, though, this could actually give him some upside going forward and help his campaign.
Yeah. I mean, it probably doesn't hurt as primary because there's nobody. I mean, it's really, to me, it's between he and Nikki Haley. That's the only reasonable conversation being had on the right.
Yeah.
To me, I don't. That guy's a joke. Time, like you said, every time he opens his mouth, he falls farther behind.
Yeah.
So
DeSantis is definitely desperate because he was on Bill Maher last week. Bill Maher made his return to TV after the strike.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too.
Oh no, I'm talking about right now. I'm going to show you the interview right now. Actually, as we speak.
No, I mean, okay, we're gonna. Well, no, I wanna call Bill Maher out in the way that.
Go ahead. As I'm saying up now, go ahead.
As you know, especially the way he welcomed back the show. He basically didn't acknowledge the strike. He didn't show any kind of solidarity with the WGA. He was basically just glad to be back. Thanks for everybody for putting it together. But didn't really acknowledge, any of the things that you're supposed to do, or like I said, show any solidarity with, say, the people that are still striking, anything like that. He's just a rich guy who wants to stay rich, and he's honestly falling. He's a chud in a blue suit. Like, I mean, he's right wing. Like, when you look at the way
I can't go that far, Mark, with you. Even though I agree that he's an ass. Look, my wife won't tell you that I've never liked him the person, because I thought he was even with his left wing politics, he's always been an elitist asshole.
Okay, but he's the guy in Weimar world that is half the reason, it's the people to the middle that fell to the Nazis, because they're like, well, I can't stand all these woke whores.
Right.
Stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because, I mean, he cheered on, DeSantis's comments about wokeism, and it was an idea of ideology when he was talking.
That shit fucking annoying. That whole thing to him, his view on what, I agree with him on climate change and
because it's just a dog whistle for progress in general, but really you're talking about racial and gender equality.
And he falls in that because of the fact that word woke has gotten.
And anyone who's calling it that for that reason doesn't know what the word means in the first fucking place.
And it's funny that a lot of my right wing friends ask what woke means, and they have no fucking clue what it means. No clue. No, that's not what it means. If you're gonna use the word, at least get the fucking definition correct.
Tell me you don't have any black friends without saying you don't have any black friends. Misuse woke like that. Indict wokeism. Right.
So we'll play a little bit of this interview from DeSantis on Maher last week. My wife saw the interview on Monday, and she was grossly disappointed because
I saw some clips, and I read a bunch of recaps. I can't stand either of them long enough to watch the whole damn thing.
Well, this is only a couple minutes of the interview here. Do you see the screen there?
There it comes. Okay.
All right, here we go. So you can hear this.
He is the governor of Florida, who is currently on our show. Currently running to be the Republican.
He doesn't drill him enough in my opinion.
2024 Governor Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, that was one of the recaps I read. Said is he did a bunch of whataboutism crap, and Bill Maher didn't hold his feet to the fire.
Yeah,
right. On a scale
very
of
little.
9 to 10, what'd you think of my monologue?
Honestly, I was laughing. I'll give you that.
Right,
laughing on both sides of the aisle too. So it was good. And welcome back to the show. I know you guys were on hiatus for a while.
Thank you.
Hiatus.
He's so awkward.
Hiatus. That's what we're calling it.
Yeah.
If you ever have problems in California, in Florida, not only we have no income tax, no vax mandates allowed in the state of Florida.
We're going to get to that.
Okay.
You got a couple times on some things.
Pandering to the Fox News watchers tuning in for once in their life.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, that's just a crazy thing.
We're proud of it.
But there were no cowboys in Florida, Ron.
Oh yeah, you should try Florida. We're one of the top
his look apparently has sparked a debate again about whether or not he wears lifts in his shoes.
Who, DeSantis?
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I stand corrected.
That was one of the pieces I saw when I was doing the research
because
for
I'm
before.
wearing orthopedic shoes.
There you go.
Okay, so the debate, it was a shit show, but right. I mean, even you said you would have turned it off if you were watching. I mean, people screaming over each other. I couldn't hear what anyone they're saying. It was terrible. But I heard you won. I heard the polling said you won. What did you win? With Trump? No, honestly.
This is where he got
good. That's funny.
That, he's
funny.
Up, he's missing in action. He owes it to voters to show up and defend his record. And I think he thinks he can take a juice poll.
I do agree with that, actually.
And then people don't get to vote.
But,
that's not
I mean,
it doesn't matter. This guy doesn't matter.
In a poli-sci class, but he's up 46.5 points or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I was the one guy that people said, you know what, this guy's
It's
actually
not a
acting like
contest.
president.
Right.
And the rest
It really
were not.
isn't.
And so, okay,
The
there I
voters
am.
have decided.
I
They've
told
seen what they
Donald,
need to
let's
see.
do a debate. I'm debating your governor, Gavin
We're
Newsom,
going to get
soon,
to that.
but let's do a debate
Okay.
with me and him. I'll
But
do it.
All right. But this, can I ask you one thing about these debates?
He did.
Can you get rid of this guy, Doug Burgum? This guy,
He's so
this
awkward.
bugs me. He is not going to be president.
I don't even
this
know who
guy
that
could
is.
start
He's
dating
one that-
Taylor Swift. No one would care.
That's fucking hysterical.
God, he just looks so uncomfortable.
even-
I'm telling you, he does.
But you know,
He has
the thing
no
is, he didn't want
charisma.
to take my advice.
What was it?
Here's
I
here.
was on this show a few times when we talked. I said,
Are his
this
pants
guy's
tucked
crazy to
into
run
his
this time.
boots?
He's, what are you, 45 years old?
Yeah.
You just had a birthday, right?
Yeah.
You could run for the next 20 years. If you were Biden, the next 40.
God help us.
Yep.
Okay.
God help
why
us.
run against Trump? You're trying to thread this needle that will never happen.
Well, for a
What-
couple reasons.
You
One,
can't disavow him because that's the base, and yet you're running against him, and that's why. I mean, let's face it, Ron.
He can't say
if
because
this
once he gets
campaign is
convicted,
going
I'm,
well,
Yeah,
I'm the
exactly.
front runner.
Oh, that's not true.
Can't say that though.
No, one, I don't think he can win the election.
Oh, really?
I could win the election. Two,
Yeah.
I don't think he
That's-
could actually get the job
bullshit.
done that we
Patently
need to push
ridiculous,
for
but
COVID.
Go on.
I think we need accountability for what this government did to this country with the COVID restrictions, mandates, and lockdowns. Donald Trump is not going to. He says he did everything.
His
right.
state had
He
one of
says
the
he
highest
saved
death and
millions of
infection
lives
rates in the
with
That's right.
country.
His mRNA
Exactly.
shot saved
Oh.
He's not going to clean house at CDC, NIH, FDA, or any of that.
Hold on, I'm gonna
do
tell you right
that. I'll
now,
get the job done
And
in a
you and I
lot.
think we debated this in the past already. I actually do not necessarily. I actually defended how he handled COVID initially.
Vaccine
I-
mandates, I'll give you, but just on its face, point for point, really doesn't matter at this point. We're
Right.
3 years removed. The point is, he didn't listen to doctors. Like he
Right.
didn't listen to doctors.
It got he
And
handled it well for the first
he
couple months.
fired the ones. He fired the ones that wouldn't stand by what he said.
Right. And he politicized it in the end too. Ultimately, I mean, that's
Yeah,
when he lost
and
me.
you
When he
can't-
started politicizing it.
You just can't. You can't politicize a fucking pandemic. Like
No,
people
right.
were dying at incredible rates. Like, yeah, I won't accept any of their bullshit arguments to defend the governors like him and the shit that they did during the pandemic.
By the way,
I mean,
he'll
it was proven out in the death rates. The death
By
and
the way-
infection rates were higher in states like Mississippi, Florida, Georgia, Alabama. Like,
By the way, he'll actually confess that January 6th was actually no, I'm sorry. He'll confess. I don't think he knew this because Bill Maher kind of cornered him. That he'll confess that the election was not rigged. You'll see in a
Other
second.
things we do. The one thing about
Okay.
Florida, and even my critics will acknowledge, if he says he's going to do something, he will follow through and get the job done. So it's about the country. Are we going to get the country turned around or not? I don't think he's a vehicle that's doing. And I have been when I supported him.
A
on
vehicle
things I
that's
like,
doing.
I've said it.
Yeah.
oh
but
my
I've
God,
been
way to drop
critical
your
about
G
the
there.
things that
That's
he
for
didn't
real.
do,
Yeah.
And I'll continue to do that.
Okay, but you.
Okay, right here. I think right here.
He's so bad.
But you campaigned
Here we go. Here.
for election deniers in 2022. This I do not forgive.
Well,
To
look,
quote The Godfather. I mean, Carrie Lake, who said Biden's an illegitimate president. Trump didn't.
well, now she's attacking me, so maybe I did make a mistake there because she's out there saying she's trying to say that we mandated vax in Florida when we did the opposite. We protected people even from
What?
private mandates. So that may have been.
But Trump lost the election, right?
Yeah.
It's not.
Okay.
A
See, right there,
debate,
you missed
it's
right
an
there.
interview.
You say, yeah.
I
You heard
wanted
he said
to
you
see
missed that, right?
Republicans win
That's right there. He
key
goes, told us
races.
the election.
That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's-
Watch.
He said, but
She's out
Trump
there
lost the
saying
election,
she's
yeah.
trying to say that
Watch right here.
mandated vax in Florida when we did the opposite. We protected people
Right over
even
here.
from private mandates. So that may have been.
But Trump lost the election, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
See?
So why did you
See?
campaign for people who said
Because
you
I
didn't?
wanted to see Republicans win key races.
And
I think it's important.
that's not
to
a
have-
deal breaker issue for you. That's not democracy.
Well, okay. Well, let's go back to 2016. Your
Oh my
friends
God,
in
here we go
Hollywood were
again.
cutting ads telling the electoral.
Okay,
college
hold on.
to
Pause it
do
really quick.
Right. Yeah. Go
Hold
ahead.
on.
Go ahead.
He is going to draw a comparison. So let's be clear about what he's referring to.
Right.
At the approaching the close of the 2016 election, the cast of The West Wing got together and did an ad, basically highlighting, a constitutional abnormality, whatever you want to call it, but that electors are effectively allowed to go against the
Right.
popular vote if they want. So that was not endorsed by the Clinton campaign.
Right.
That was not endorsed by the DNC.
Correct.
No attempt to overturn the election was made by Hillary Clinton or the DNC.
Right.
No lawsuits were filed. The morning after, like, the election was declared at like 10 p.m. on Eastern time, 11 p.m. Eastern on election night. And
actually later now. It's actually 2 a.m. actually election night. It was 2 a.m.
Oh, okay. She promptly it was 11 in California. That's what it was.
Right, true.
She promptly conceded the next morning. Congratulated Donald Trump and retired to the Catskills or wherever the hell she lives. But like drawing the comparison between that, a fictional TV show's cast of like 5 people making a really like far off point that may technically be true, and say January 6th
and
the
actual
election,
insurrection.
Yeah, a literal attempted coup on the seat of our government and the attempted murder of Mike Pence and a number of other elected officials.
But hey,
and then the subsequent wave of candidates that tried to ride that to say that was Antifa and the FBI and the communists and Stalin risen from the grave, or God knows what the fuck else they came up with.
Yeah.
But to sit there and then try to draw a comparison between those two is such gross whataboutism that doesn't hold any water, and it just goes to show he's not a serious candidate. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Okay, maybe he's a lawyer, sure. But like, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
The worst part is
or worse is he does and he doesn't care.
The worst part is the constituents will eat this shit up as fucking fact. That's the worst part. That's the worst part.
That's what happens when misinformation is allowed to run rampant and social media companies aren't regulated.
Right. So that's 20 seconds here.
Trump in the Electoral College because it was stolen. They said Russia stole the election. For years, they said
Russia influenced the election, not stolen.
No, okay. There was a very, very, very tiny sect of people on the left, on the far. There's tinfoil hats on every side of the political spectrum.
Of course, agreed.
So yes, there were some tinfoil hat leftists out there that did allege that Russia changed some votes. That was patently completely absurd.
Here's what's fact, though. This is facts because Putin said himself,
Russia
did influence the election. They say, but not saying they voted.
Well, and I forget the number of
out there.
Defense and Intelligence Agency directors that all came out and said that Russia interfered in the 2016 election and testified to Congress. So
even fucking Donald Trump asked Russia, Putin, are you out there? Come on.
That is still not. How that wasn't the death knell of his campaign at that moment.
I think that's also to show you how disliked that woman is, though. Honestly.
Well, 100%.
And you don't like her. I don't like her.
No.
But we look at
she was a terrible candidate. It should have been Bernie. Yeah. He would have beat Trump by 11 points.
Yeah, agreed. I agree, 100%. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like whataboutism there, and man, and the worst part, people eat this shit up, man. Like it's fact.
Yeah, and that's you know, part. And Bill Maher didn't hold his feet to the fire or point to any of that. And to say that that's a completely false equivalency, those things are not remotely related to one another. I mean, people have received historic sentences on charges of seditious conspiracy against the United States. Like, what?
Yeah. I don't know, man. My wife was pissed though because, and granted, I believe that he probably came in the show with with some restrictions. Don't talk about Florida. Don't talk about.
Of course.
Don't talk about campaign stuff. That's it. Because my wife was pissed off because he didn't go into the ban the book stuff. He didn't go into the
I mean, and the fact that Bill Maher would acquiesce to such a ridiculous request and then give that man a platform is fucking irresponsible as a quote unquote journalist.
I think based off the fact, the only issue I have with Barr putting him on the show.
I mean, he's technically a comic, but like, let's be real. Your show is about
politics.
It's about national discourse. So I think it would be safe to say, or fair, that you should be held to something resembling a journalistic standard.
Yeah, but Bill Maher in the past would have been a lot more aggressive with him on shit. The fact he wasn't aggressive with him, it was disappointing. It was disappointing.
He just wanted to start cashing those checks again. He wanted the show back up and running, and it was a get. It was a grabby get that was going to pull in a bunch of new viewers and help juice ad buys.
Yeah. What else did we miss